All right, hello, and welcome to this next hour of BTN TV. I'm Michael Baker, Executive Editor with the BTN Group. Very pleased to be with you here for the next hour. Coming up in a little bit, we're going to have Paul Tillstone of Festive Roads going to be talking to us about sustainable travel policies. We're also going to have Kyle Mabry from American Airlines, so looking forward to that. But right now, we have Olivier Benoit from Advito is going to talk to us about the European airline landscape. So, Olivier, let's start talking about by the big news of recent weeks is that the U.S. is finally going to be opening its borders again to vaccinated travelers from Europe and the rest of the world. What does that mean for the European airline industry?
Hi, Michael. Thank you for having me. It means a lot. There is a very high expectation that will support the ramp up to travel. That has been delayed because of the Delta variant. The industry was expecting the ramp up to accelerate in Q3, Q4. It did not happen in September. So yes, there is a significant hope that this will help, as well as what UK also recently announced. So everything that will make the travel easier will definitely have a positive impact. But what's interesting to notice is that when we look at the latest airline schedule that are published, if we look at OAG or Innovata data, we have not seen this week, just after the announcement, a surge in airline supply on transatlantic. So that potentially will come in the coming days, coming weeks.
Yes, and having just flown in from the U.S. myself yesterday, I'm disappointed to be one of the last amber countries to fly in. If I had flown in about a week later, it would have been a little bit simpler process.
I agree,
for me.
because
Yes.
I spent a lot of time also to be able to join from France to UK.
Yes. Yes. So when you mentioned it hasn't shown up in the schedules yet, is there still some hesitancy on airlines' parts? Because we also saw there's some possibility that some European countries may put harsher restrictions in for American travelers. We saw the Netherlands put some quarantine policies in that they later reversed. So we've kind of seen some back and forth of flights being added and canceled. Is that dance going to be going on for a while?
Yes, I think there is still a certain level of uncertainty that airline needs to deal with. I think the uncertainty level is going down because practically we can see that vaccination has really moved forward in North America, in Europe. Now airlines during this crisis have moved into a very short-term network planning. So airlines are really planning for the next 3 to 4 weeks, and that's why we can see every week some variation in the number of seats that are offered by airlines. So they are extremely proactive, reactive. I believe that we will see more supply in the coming weeks on transatlantic.
Great. And now specific to corporate travel, what sort of volumes are the European airlines seeing, even for domestic or short-haul international? Is there much of a rebound in demand at this point? Or if not, when is that expected to happen?
Well, the demand has significantly dropped. So we expect globally for the end of 21, if we look at the supply that has dropped by 40% compared to 2019, which is usually our baseline, mainly on long-haul international flights, more than around 50%. There has been a pickup for domestic, which may end up only at minus 10% in terms of number of seats compared to 2019. But eventually, if you look at the drop in supply and the lower load factors, because load factors have also decreased by 10 to 15%, you end up with a minus 50% demand globally in 2021. So it's not as good as what we wished before this Delta variant wave hit us.
Yes, well, let's hope that vaccination rates continue to increase around the world and that continues to improve. So how are corporates working with airline partners at the moment? Are we still seeing mostly extending contracts, or are there new negotiations going on, or what's the prevalent trend there?
Well, they are actually, the first good news is that the discussion is active. There has been more and more airline sales teams being called back into their organization. So it's easier today for buyers or travel managers to talk to airlines and to start planning the ramp up. Currently, the trend is more to extend contracts just to keep a program when the travel will ramp up, that will be covered by discounts. So that's the main priority. Now, recently, we've seen that the airline RFPs are coming back. So earlier this year, we had almost no RFPs running, but now we can see that more and more corporations, to be prepared for next year, are getting into this RFP process. The others, the vast majority, is still looking into maintaining the relationship, extending deals, and on a quarterly basis, they just have this check, okay, where do we stand in terms of supply, in terms of border restriction, in terms of travel policy, travel restrictions from the corporation? Is it the right time to reactivate the program and eventually to adjust it to the new travel footprint of the corporation and to the new supply situation, because many routes have changed. So that is a call for revisiting, renegotiating the top routes and top markets with suppliers.
Okay, so I think last time we were at BTS before the world changed on us, we were talking a lot about Evergreen agreements with airlines, and
Yes.
it seems like this would sort of give kind of more weight to pursuing that approach. Have you seen more corporates interested in that in the long term now that we're in a different world today?
Yes, and actually what we discussed last time we met about this idea to be more effective in building a program that will be managed on an ongoing basis instead of running like this heavy RFP cycles yearly or every 2 years. The crisis has proven that this model is the right one, because that's the best way to constantly adjust your program to your travel footprint and to the changes in the industry. And unfortunately, there have been dramatic changes in the supply and in the demand recently. So yes, this Evergreen is still something that corporations are looking at. You can see it from the legal point of view, which is to avoid having to renegotiate legal clause too often, because it's very time consuming. And also from the pricing grid, the terms, the discounts, the goals attached to it, where it makes sense to have this grid enforced, and from time to time, when it makes sense, when the data is showing us that we need to address it, we need to change a term, we need to add an airline, to remove an airline, to add a route, then the discussion is engaged with suppliers, and that's how you can constantly have the most effective program for your corporation. Airlines are now pretty used to that model, and they are really flexible to accommodate this new way of managing a program.
Okay, great. So let's talk about some of the challenges that buyers may be facing when their travel programs start to pick up more, especially around pricing. Is there going to be higher pricing? Is it going to be more volatile? And also availability. Are there's probably going to be fewer routes to choose from? What are some of the challenges they're going to have to work through?
Yeah, and that's, I think we'll address, we have a session tomorrow.
We do indeed.
About the air, not only the air, it's all categories, the market outlook. So uncertainty, we discussed it in terms of supply and border restriction, and volatility, that's the second keyword when it comes to pricing. So the outlook is that volatility will remain pretty high, as it is today in the next 6 to 12 months. And when we use our traditional statistical, based on historical models to forecast the future, today, let's say, long story short, it's irrelevant, because historical data is not there, and making assumptions on the future on many different type of KPIs, eventually it will turn out to be wrong. So we can actually assess the future by just observing, what is happening, looking at the airline schedule, the supply with the OAG or Innovata data. Now, when it comes to pricing, we are shopping in the GDS, millions of price points, and then we can see trends. So what we learned from that is that the revenue management pricing logic is actually here to stay. It has not changed with the prices. So if you think about this, it means that the markets where there is a dominant or monopoly situation from an airline, or a lack of supply, will experience a significant average ticket price increase. The markets that are extremely competitive, we can think about transatlantic, between US and UK. We are also expecting that the pricing that has been dropped by 50% over the past 2 years will pick up again, but at a slower pace because it's competitive. If we look at the domestic markets, we have also seen that the average pricing, like in domestic US, has dropped significantly, almost 50%, has picked up again from last summer when the activity has resumed in domestic markets. Now we are at -10 against 2019. So we expect this pricing to keep on rising until the end of the year and be above 2019 level in early 2022.
Okay, great. So our last question we have time for today, let's talk about LCC specifically, and are they going to be a bigger role in corporate travel moving forward?
Yes, it's interesting to look at the LCC market because they are capturing more and more business travel. It can be 5 to 25% depending on the LCC you're looking at in Europe or in US or in Asia. The LCC are not apparently going to be very strong in terms of capacity discipline. So that's because of their model. They need to grow, they need to have high load factors, they are extremely aggressive in pricing. So when it comes to regional markets like within Europe or domestic markets like in the US, they will have a role, and the legacy network carriers will be challenged on these particular routes because I expect the LCC to be pretty aggressive, and they are also looking into consolidating. It was interesting to see the offer from Wizz Air on EasyJet that was not a success actually, but it's an interesting trend because we are expecting this LCC market to consolidate further after the crisis, and especially in Europe.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Olivier. That's really great insight as always, as we've come to expect from you. So thank you so much for joining us. I'll be back in just a little bit, and I believe we're going to hear from some of our exhibitors now.